Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us.
Yeah, great to be back.
So this time we're tackling something I think a lot of our listeners struggle with.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's how to plan your week effectively.
Definitely a popular topic.
So we've got some awesome material to work with for this deep dive.
Right.
We're looking at a YouTube video from the Art of Improvement channel.
Yep, I've seen that one.
It talks about how to plan your week effectively using tips from writer Carol's book.
The bullet journal method.
Exactly. And whether you're a bullet journal fan or not,
Doesn't matter.
right. There's a lot of great advice in there for anyone.
For any system, really.
Yeah, whether you use an app or just a simple to-do list.
Totally.
Now, I don't want to spoil too much,
Okay.
but I gotta say, one of these tips involves giving yourself a high five.
Well, yeah, that's a good one.
Stay tuned for that.
Right.
So the video kicks off with this idea of taking a mental inventory.
Mental inventory.
Yeah, it sounds kind of
A
intense,
little bit.
but they tie it into this concept of decision fatigue. Have you ever felt that?
Oh, absolutely.
Like you're just bombarded with decisions.
Even little ones.
Yeah, and your brain just feels fried.
Totally fried.
What's that like for you?
Well, sometimes I can't even decide what to have for dinner.
Oh, yeah.
I just end up staring into the fridge.
It's the war.
Or like I'll procrastinate on the simplest tasks.
I know what you mean.
Because making a decision about what to do first is just...
Too much.
Exactly.
And the video suggests this is all because...
Well, we're trying to juggle too many things in our heads.
Like our brain has limited RAM.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like an overloaded computer.
The good analogy.
And that's where the mental inventory comes in.
Okay, tell me more about that.
You just write down everything that's taking up space in your mind.
Everything.
Yeah, all those task appointments, worries, ideas.
Let's get it all out.
Yeah. And by doing that, you free up those cognitive resources.
So it's like decluttering your mental desktop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Makes things run a lot smoother.
Yeah. I like that analogy.
Yeah.
And once you've done that, I imagine it becomes much easier to see what really needs to get done.
Oh, absolutely. You get that bigger picture, you know.
And you can prioritize more effectively.
You got it.
It's kind of like that saying, you can't manage what you don't measure.
Sure.
If it's all swirling around in your head, it's hard to get a grip on it.
Absolutely. Clarity is key.
Okay, so we've decluttered our minds with a mental inventory.
Sure.
The next tip is all about time blocking, which, to be honest,
Yeah.
I've always been a bit resistant to.
I get that.
It seems so rigid, you know?
Yeah, like too much structure.
Exactly. But the video uses this example.
Okay.
Imagine you have to write an essay, work on a project, and clean your room.
This is familiar.
Instead of those tasks just floating around on your list,
Right.
you assign a specific time slot for each one.
Like scheduling appointments with yourself.
Yeah, and that way you're more likely to actually do them.
You're more likely to show up for yourself?
Right, because if it was a meeting with someone else, you wouldn't just skip it.
Totally. It makes you accountable.
And it also kind of forces you to estimate how long things will actually take.
Which is a valuable skill in itself.
Yeah, for sure.
And then there's Parkinson's law.
Okay, fill me in on that.
Basically, work expands to fill the time available.
So if you give yourself an hour to write that essay,
It'll probably take you an hour.
but if you only give yourself 30 minutes,
You might be surprised how much you can get done.
that's a good point.
Plus, it helps with decision fatigue, too.
Oh, how so?
So you've already decided when you're going to do something.
So you don't have to waste energy thinking about it.
Exactly. You've already made that decision.
I'm starting to come around to this time blocking thing.
I told you.
All right, moving on, the video talks about morning reflections.
Oh, yeah. Love those.
I have to admit, when I hear that,
What do you picture?
I picture some elaborate meditation ritual,
Not quite.
which just isn't realistic for most people.
Definitely not for me.
But the video emphasizes that it doesn't have to be a big production.
It's more about taking a few minutes, just 5 to 15.
Oh, okay, that's doable.
Yeah, maybe while you're having your coffee.
And you just look over your list for the day.
But why not just jump into action?
Well, it's about connecting with the why behind each task.
The why.
Yeah, like, why is this important?
Hmm.
Why am I doing this? Why is this a priority?
So it's about setting your intentions for the day.
Exactly. It gives you purpose and direction.
I like that. Instead of just blindly going through the motions.
Mindfulness is key.
Okay, I'm on board with morning reflections.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what about evening reflections?
Evening reflections are all about ending your day with a sense of completion and acknowledging what you've accomplished.
Because it's easy to just keep adding to our to-do lists.
Right. And never really appreciate what we've done.
It's like we're always focused on the next thing.
Always looking ahead, never enjoying the present.
So how do evening reflections help with that? Well, the video suggests asking yourself some questions about each task you completed.
Like what?
Like, why was this important?
Why did I do this?
Why was this a priority?
So it's not just checking things off the list.
It's about understanding the value of what you achieved.
And that can help you plan better for the future.
Exactly. It helps you clarify your values and priorities.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we've covered mental inventory, time blocking, morning reflections, and evening reflections.
We're on a roll.
And that brings us to the final tip,
Let me guess.
the one I've been waiting for.
The high five.
Yes, celebrating our wins.
I love this one.
Me too. And the video actually suggests giving yourself a high five.
Or even doing a little dance.
I'm down for that.
It might sound silly,
Okay.
but there's actually some science behind it.
Oh, tell me more.
Our brains love rewards,
Right.
and when we celebrate even small wins, we get a little burst of dopamine.
Ah, that feel-good chemical.
Exactly. And over time, this can actually rewire our brains to seek out more accomplishments.
So we're training our brains to crave success.
You got it. And it doesn't have to be anything big.
Right.
A fist pump, a quick dance, or even just mentally acknowledging your achievement.
I like that. Just find what feels good for you.
Exactly. Make it a habit.
I've definitely been guilty of just moving on to the next task.
Without celebrating.
Yeah, like there's always more to do.
But taking a moment to celebrate can really shift your mindset
From just striving to accomplishing.
and feeling grateful for what you've done.
I love that. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
Mental inventory, time blocking, morning reflections, evening reflections, and celebrating our wins.
A holistic approach to planning.
It's not just about getting things done.
It's about feeling good while you're doing it.
Exactly. So I'm curious what resonates with you the most.
That's a tough one.
Is there one tip you're particularly excited to try out?
I'm really drawn to those morning reflections.
Oh, yeah.
I think taking those few minutes to connect with my why could really make a difference.
Yeah, I can see that. Setting your internal compass for the day.
Love that analogy.
Thanks. I think I'm going to give time blocking a serious try,
It can be a game changer.
especially for procrastination.
For sure. But remember, it's not about finding the perfect system.
Right.
It's about finding what works for you.
Experimenting and adapting as you go.
Exactly. What works for one person might not work for another.
So it's all about finding what clicks for you.
And that's the beauty of these tips.
Yeah.
They're guidelines, not rules.
Okay.
You can personalize them to fit your own needs.
I like that. So there you have it. 5 tips for planning your week effectively from Ryder Carroll's The Bullet Journal Method.
Mental inventory, time blocking, morning reflections, evening reflections, and celebrating wins.
And remember, the most important thing is that it works for you.
These tips are just a starting point.
Feel free to adapt them
Experiment with them.
and create a system that really works for you.
A system that makes you feel organized, focused, and in control.
Exactly. And on that note, I think it's time for us to
Celebrate another deep dive.
high five. But seriously, folks, we hope you found this exploration of effective week planning helpful.
Absolutely.
Now, before you go, we want to leave you with a final thought.
Something to ponder.
Okay.
Think about just one small change you can make this week.
Based on what we've talked about.
Maybe it's trying out a morning reflection.
Or giving time blocking a shot.
Small steps can lead to big changes.
So pick one thing and give it a try.
You got this.
And remember, the goal here is not to add stress to your life.
It's about making it easier.
More productive, and maybe even a little bit more fun.
Exactly. So go out there, conquer your week, and don't forget to celebrate along the way.
We'll see you next time for part 2 of this deep dive.
Looking forward to it.
See ya.
Bye. It's like positive reinforcement,
That-
You're rewarding yourself for good behavior.
Exactly. Okay, so to recap,
Yeah.
we've talked about taking a mental inventory, using time blocking,
Right.
incorporating morning and evening reflections,
Don't forget those days.
and of course, celebrating those wins.
Big or small.
It's a pretty comprehensive approach to planning.
Yeah, it's not just about the logistics.
Right.
It's about the mindset, too.
The emotional and psychological side of things.
Exactly. It's all connected.
So what about you? What resonates with you the most from all of this?
I think I'm most drawn to those morning reflections.
Oh, yeah. Why is that?
I think taking a few minutes to connect with my why would really set me up for success.
Yeah, I can see that. It's like setting your compass for the day.
Exactly. Making sure I'm headed in the right direction.
Love that analogy.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's the time blocking. I need that structure to keep me on track.
Especially if you're prone to procrastination.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember,
What's that?
there's no one-size-fits-all system.
Right.
It's all about finding what works for you.
Experimenting and adapting along the way,
Exactly. What works for me might not work for you.
and vice versa.
So it's about finding what clicks.
What feels right.
Exactly. So to recap one last time,
Right, hit me with it.
5 tips for planning your week effectively.
From the bullet journal method.
Mental inventory, time blocking, morning reflections, evening reflections, and celebrating those wins.
Boom.
There you have it.
And the key takeaway?
Is what
Find what works for you.
make it your own.
Exactly. These tips are just a starting point,
A framework to build upon
so adapt them, experiment with them.
and create a system that truly supports you.
A system that helps you feel organized.
Focused and in control.
I like that. And on that note, I think it's time for us to
Wrap things up.
celebrate.
High five to that.
But seriously, folks, we hope you enjoyed this deep dive.
We had fun.
Now, before you go, we want to leave you with a final thought.
A little something to chew on.
Okay.
Think about one small change you can make this week
Just one thing.
based on what we've talked about.
Yeah, maybe try out a morning reflection.
Or give time blocking a shot.
Small steps can lead to big results.
So pick one thing and go for it.
And remember,
The goal is not to add more stress.
it's about making things easier,
Right.
more enjoyable, and maybe even a little bit more fun.
Exactly. So go out there, conquer your week, and don't forget to celebrate along the way.
You got this.
We'll see you next time for the final part of this deep dive.
Can't wait.
See ya.
Bye.
Well, that about wraps it up for our deep dive into how to plan your week effectively.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground.
I hope everyone's feeling inspired to try out some of these tips.
Me too.
I know I am.
I'm already thinking about my morning reflection tomorrow.
And me too. And
Yeah.
maybe some time blocking.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Well, we had a lot of fun with this one.
Definitely.
Then we hope you did too.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Yeah, and remember,
What's that?
the best way to learn is by doing.
So get out there and plan your week,
And don't forget to celebrate those wins.
big or small.
Exactly. All right, folks, that's it for this deep dive.
Thanks for listening.
We'll catch you next time.
See ya.